Hi everyone, welcome to On the Other Hand. I'm Ariane Zurcher, and this is another one of those, let's have a little chat, pull out your stitching, let's stitch. I keep meaning to tell all of you who follow this channel that the MRI tests came back totally fine for someone my age. That's what the doctor said. And I said, what do you mean for someone my age? He said, well, there's some little white spots. I said, white spots? Is that dementia? What is that? He said, no. After you turn a certain age, we expect to see one or two or a few. And as you get older, you get a few more. And I said, so is that like Swiss cheese? He said, no, not at all like Swiss cheese. I said, okay. So evidently I have some white spots, which I'm pretty sure I know when I'm hitting one of those white spots. It's like when I can't remember something really, really obvious and I suddenly am just like, my mind goes completely blank. I've hit a white spot. So that's what I'm going to start saying. I'm hitting a white spot. I think one has to have a sense of humor about all of this, especially aging. So I have some white spots. I also have some tiny little thing that's the size, he said it's 3 millimeters. Well, lucky for him, I actually know what 3 millimeters, what that size is. It's the size of a very small bead, but it's not the tiniest bead I've ever used. And he said I can't remember what he said it was, but anyway, he said it was nothing to worry about. It's probably been there for my whole life, but we're going to do another MRI in a year to just make sure that it isn't growing, which always sounds terrifying. What do you mean, is it growing? You know, these are the little indignities. And the thing is that the more that they do these MRIs and they look around and they poke and they examine and they x-ray, I mean, they're going to find stuff, right? Because that's their job, A. And B, stuff's going on in there. Probably better for me not even to know. The good news is I have a few white spots, which is to be expected for someone my age. And also, interestingly, they said they also see them in people who have migraines. So he said, coupled with your age and migraines, and I'm thinking, that's sounding worse and worse. I sort of felt like saying, just stop right there. But I didn't want to be rude. So that's what's going on there. Evidently, I'm just fine. So I have to tell you this because it's really actually pretty funny. So I'm sitting in bed with my husband last night. Oh, this isn't going to get risque. I'm sitting in bed with my husband last night, and we're both looking at our phones, right? I want to say that I'm reading something really, really interesting, like, I don't know, the history of some, the biography of some obscure poet in the 15th century. But I wasn't. I was playing a game, a stupid game. It's called Woodoko or Wooduko. It's like Sudoku, but with tiles. Whatever. It's a silly game. I always tell myself, well, I think these games are helpful for someone my age. Truth is, they're not. They're just an excuse to, spend time doing something stupid. In any case, I'm sitting there doing that, and my husband, who's a big crossword puzzle fanatic, he loves doing crosswords, and he never cheats, by the way, or very rarely. Anyway, he had turned his phone off, and he turned it on, and he put it in front of his face, for facial recognition. And he said, oh my God, my phone isn't even recognizing my face. I'm so old, it doesn't even recognize my face. So we went on a whole riff about, how Siri was like secretly saying, I have no interest in recognizing that face. That is just way too wrinkled and old. I am not going there. You put in your passcode manually, young man. So we went on a whole little, I don't know, it was funny at the time. So, take it or leave it. If you think it's funny, great. If you don't, whatever, it's fine. I won't take offense. The other thing I just want to report is that I did get to the gym this morning and I did do my 25 minutes. I cut it 5 minutes short of bike riding on the bike while reading about Marcus Aurelius, who is fascinating. I mean, the guy was like 14 when he was sort of pegged to be emperor, or I guess Hadrian decided, had caught his eye. I mean, he was really young, and evidently he was younger than that when Hadrian, but evidently 14 in Rome in those days was considered a man at the age of 14. I'm thinking about my kids and I'm thinking, seriously? I mean, I barely allowed them to have a knife in the kitchen. That's not true. I did, but seems very young. So I did my bike, and then I did some free weights and some other floor exercises. Very proud of myself. We'll see how sore I am tomorrow. But I wanted to report to all of you because I know you care and are interested and were just sort of beside yourself wondering how things were going, right? Okay, enough of all that. I thought it would be fun to show you. I put some of my pieces that I'm working on. I now have 5. Is that right? 5 in the works. I mean, we're getting dangerously close to Anna Bates territory. Now, granted, Anna, for those of you who don't know Anna, quilt roadies and also stitch roadies. My friend, also a YouTuber, very funny. We have a similar sense of humor. I've got to call Anna. Anyway, she's back home now. She was in Arizona and other places. I can't remember. It's hard to keep up. That's the cat, by the way, just running back and forth. Now, he's got some white spots in his brain. Absolutely no doubt. I mean, this is not a young man, this cat. He's got to be, I don't know, we got him from a rescue shelter. They told us that he was a kitten. I took him to the vet, and the vet looked at me and he said, "This is no kitten. This cat is at least a year old." So evidently, it was a selling point, I'm sure, the whole kitten thing. I didn't care. He was fully grown. Who cares? Kitten, cat, whatever. Is he neutered? Is he kitty litter trained? Good. Awesome. We love him. Brought him home. Anyway, we don't know how old he is, but we're thinking that he's probably around 13 or maybe even 14 at this point. It's hard to remember when we got him. It's all a blur, those past years. So, and he runs back and forth. And then we have these curtains in our bedroom that go from the ceiling to the floor that we pull across when I'm in here and maybe Richard's in the bedroom, for instance. We'll pull the curtains, shut the French doors, pull the curtains. He'll climb all the way up the velvet curtains to the top and then climb down. Very agile. Okay, so here's what I thought we would do today. I thought, because I have a number of projects that I've got in the works, that I put them up on the design wall, and I thought, I'll show you them. I'll show you what I've got, the ones that I'm actively working on. Oh my gosh. There are a couple others, but I'm not actively working on them. I sort of have them. They're there, but I'm not, these I'm actively working on. So I'll show you those. So I'm going to turn you around or I'm going to turn around and we'll look at those. And then I will do some stitching. Okay, so here's what you're looking at. Up here is from Pat, my friend Pat Polly. She sent me another piece of linen. It's a different kind of linen than this one. This one is a bigger, more open weave, and it has kinds of slubs in it. And this one is a more even weave. It's a suiting. I think, I know it's quite a bit more expensive. And So she sent me this, which I just love. She actually sent me another piece, but so this one. And then this one is what I'm planning to attach to this one, which I'm currently working on, right? And I kind of like that yellow going up and then coming, sort of disappearing down into here, and then the very different blues, but still getting those pinks in there. So that's that piece. And currently I am attaching this, which I think I showed in my last video, sort of how I was just doing some random stitching on. This is my improv piece that I did I started in my improvisational workshop that I just finished the last Saturday of. There's another one coming up in a couple months. But yeah, I'm just kind of, there's a lot more to do here. And so, you know, just so much more to work on. So this is some bark that I got from Steph Francis, which I really love. This is camel bone, and I got that from the bead chest. I don't know why that sort of upset me when I heard that it was camel bone. I felt so badly for the camel, but you know, if it's horn, I mean, that poor animal is sacrificing their horn for us, so I don't know. Is it any better? Not sure, but yeah. So it's they're very cool shapes, so. And then you'll see this piece, which I finally started working on, and I'm gonna keep going, but here we go. I've started, and you have seen me struggle with this piece, and you know, there's a part of me that's like, well, why show the struggle? You know, why not curate everything and make it all look so much fun and just fabulous and easy? And the reason I show the struggle is because that's part of designing, you know, that's part of it, is the struggle. And if you don't show the struggle, I feel like it's kind of dishonest. You know, that's just for me, because I struggle. This has been a challenge. I like the design. I like my design, but what was I going to do stitching wise? And I'm still not completely clear. You know, I mean, this is really dense, right? That's really dense. So, and there was a part of me that after I started doing it and I pulled back and I looked at it and I said, I don't know. I don't know if I like that. And the critic starts to come in. I don't know. It's so dense. What were you thinking with that? You know, maybe you should have just left it. Maybe you should have just, you know, used this and done some free motion quilting in the background and just left the shapes as is. Maybe you should have, you know, maybe. And maybe that is what I should have done. I don't know. But I didn't. And I'm going to keep going with it. And we'll see where it takes me. I can report that last night when I was working on this lower bit, I was just having a blast. So that's important. How it looks now, I don't know. There's not enough there to know, you know. I got to keep going. And I have to have faith in the process. Those are the two big things. Keep going, faith in the process. So that's my big, you know, show and tell. So I'm going to grab one of these and I'll start stitching, and we'll go from there. All right, so here we go, and I'm continuing along slowly. So I did some little cutout work with a little mirror in the back, and I show how to do cutout work in a video that I just released. And here I've got my little bit of my bead and my little bit of cheesecloth, dyed cheesecloth, and a little buttonhole wheel. And I'm just gonna keep going here. I like this, but I feel like I need more of it. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do more of this. This is my Steph Francis mercerized cotton 43. And it's the thick mercerized cotton. Evidently, there's like different weights of it. And this is the thick. I'll go ahead and put this on a chenille. So I'm doing this feather stitch, and I think I'm just going to keep going with it. I kind of envision it as covering this area here. Now, the thing about the feather stitch is when you do it, you're going to be going in a diagonal direction. It's just the nature of the stitch. There are some things that you can do that kind of change it up a little bit. Like you can put, a couple legs before you turn and go in a different direction. But you will always be going in a diagonal direction. If you want it to cover a big space, you're going to have to start and stop, and that's fine. I do that all the time. Okay, so I'm doing so as you can see, I'm just kind of going along here. I'm kind of just going in and around this other stuff that I've got, these other elements, and I'm not letting it stop me. I can vary how far apart these guys go. I can make these much closer together too. Okay. So now I want to, so now I think I'll go down here and this will start going up this way, and that's fine. And then when it gets too dense in there, I can just end it and start another, start another area where I go off this way. All right, I'm going to show you what I've been doing. So I added all of this. I added a lot here, and then up here, I did my little cheesecloth here, and I made a little buttonhole wheel, and then I wrapped it in my silk ribbon, 4mm silk ribbon, and then I did a little cluster of ribbon roses here. And then, because I'm always about, using up whatever I've got threaded on a needle, I thought it would be fun to just do a running stitch using my ribbon, going across like this. And nothing too dramatic. But it's kind of nice, right? I have, lots of rounded shapes and all of that. I really like this linen. Okay, I think I'll do one more stitch line here, and then I'll reevaluate. Okay, so I have to ask, how many of you been over to my new website? I know some of you have. And I want you to tell me what you thought. And on my new website, I have a bunch of new workshops. And for those of you who are brand new to this, I have a workshop called The Basics. And it's really for those of you who've never stitched before. So we talk about needles and threads and what needles to use with which threads, how to thread a needle. I know that sounds like everybody would know that, but actually, there are different things like threading ribbon, which is a totally different way of threading a needle. And what else? We go over fabrics, and we do needle turn and how to whip stitch something that doesn't need to have its edge turned under, like a wool or a bark or cork or something like that. We go over, I recommend using a 6 or 8 inch square, and then one element of, so if you use a linen background, then a wool element, or if you're using a wool background, then a cotton or a velvet element. And then we do some very basic stitches, like the running stitch and the back stitch, and then one sort of sexier stitch, like a bullion knot, and we talk a little bit about design and composition and the elements of design. And everybody will create a little piece that they will have finished by the end of the 2-day workshop. 5 hours a day, so 10 hours total. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's really a great course for someone who's new to this kind of stitching. And we'll talk a lot about threads, all the different kinds of threads available. We will learn some techniques, different layering techniques, and we're just going to have a lot of fun. So I hope for those of you who are new to all of this, you might think about signing up for it. So what do you think? I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, maybe I should fill the whole thing. Don't know. Maybe I will. I've got more ribbon here. So let's see. I'll go one more. The other workshop that's really fun, I have my improvisational workshop, my improvisational stitching workshop, and that's just a blast. That's sort of along the lines of what I'm doing here. And each person, there's a lot of hand holding. So if this is of any interest, we talk a lot about design and the elements of design and color and shape and thinking out of the box, and everyone comes away with a very unique piece that they've created. It's just a really, really fun workshop for people who are pretty adventurous. And then I'm doing 4 different Dorset button workshops, and each one of those is a little bit different. There's a basic Dorset button. It's a 3-hour. It's just one afternoon, 3 hours. And then I'm doing where you learn how to do a traditional Dorset button. I walk you through all of it, all the different things that people don't talk about, like what happens when you run out of thread in the middle of wrapping the ring, or what happens if you run out of thread when you're doing the spokes, and how do you line those spokes up so that they, you get a center, and how do you do the whipped woven center, and how do you change the thread if you want to do a different color thread on the whipped woven center, or you want to have a different color thread on the spokes, or all of that. And everyone comes away with at least, most people are able to do at least 3 in the 3 hours, but it depends. I mean, if you've never ever done a Dorset button and you're very new to this kind of stitching, but everyone should come away with at least 1. And then there's an advanced Dorset button class. And that one is for people who've taken the first one, or who already know how to make a Dorset button. And that's fun because we do a lot of really, really kind of artistic looking things, lots of technique, lots of really fun technique. And, using wool roving and t-shirting and making things that look like trees and And then I've created 2 designs specifically for Dorset buttons. And one is a scissor case and one is a glasses case. And we in 3 days, we make the glasses case, and one of the workshops is for the glasses, the other's for the scissors, and we make the case. And I teach you how to, so it's kind of like the beginning Dorset button and the advanced Dorset button class all together, as well as really basic stuff like how do you whip stitch those wool circles down. And you're not going to get the design aspect of the basics workshop, but you'll get some of the basic stuff as well. Actually, most of it, as well as how to embellish some of those wool circles that are on a linen background. So that's kind of it. And fun, a lot of fun. So I hope some of you will go over there and check it out. So what do you think? I think I'm going to stop for today, but I've done a lot on here. I'm getting a lot of cool, lots of different texture and lots of different things are going on. I have to still do something in here, but up here, but I'm liking this a lot. All right, so I hope this was fun and you perhaps learned something or gave you some ideas of something you're working on. And I'll see you next time. Let's keep stitching together. Thanks so much for watching.